So our next presenter is a CPS teacher and a musician who puts those things together. He does it for kids and families with his educational rock band and enrichment program called Future Hits. He was on the morning shift, but he's also, this is way cooler than being on the radio station, played in the Galapagos Islands. And he is a member of Litera Center, the fantastic co-working literacy hub where he met the nice people here at Literacy Works. Please welcome Matt Barron.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. It's a really fun event, beautiful space. So the book that changed my life. So when I got asked that question, I thought the first book that I remember really enjoying was Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinelli. It was the first chapter book that I liked as a fifth grader to keep up with the theme. And I remember the chapters were so short, and for someone like myself who always looking for a shortcut, to read a chapter book so quickly was awesome for me. And I too love Judy Blume, but I was more of a fudge guy. And I would read those books a lot. And I thought about the book that changed my life. So from 04 to 09, I worked in the West Loop for a sales company where I sold DHL and LTL, which is less than truckload freight services, door to door in business parks. I was living in Vernon Hills after college, Champaign, like the other presenter. And I drive 33 miles from Vernon Hills to the West Loop, and then I would drive about 30 miles west, and I'd cold call in business parks all day. And that just wasn't working out so great for me. So after about 5 years, I decided to go back to school, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I'm a musician, and I love time off. And I had been volunteering with organizations like Erie House and volunteering at a temple where I'd gone and had a bar mitzvah, so I had some ties there. And, you know, I saw a career coach, and they were like, you know, you like working with kids, you like Spanish language and culture, you like time off, and you don't want to be a starving artist, so maybe become a teacher. So I did that, and it's been an amazing experience to be a teacher in Chicago. Coincidentally, I'm back in the West Loop at Skinner West, so my life has kind of come full circle. But in my first year teaching, I still improvise a lot. Don't tell my principal that, but I improvise a lot when I'm teaching because I think what comes from my heart is oftentimes more effective than what can come from, you know, planning. That's what I tell myself. It's procrastination really bad. So, kind of like tonight. But in my first year teaching, I was going through some bookshelves in my old house, and I came across a Shel Silverstein book I had never seen called The Missing Piece. And as a kid, I loved Shel Silverstein. My mom would read me the poems in funny voices, and I thought they were amazing. And I just loved the style, the Rockwell font. It's just, you know, amazing. So I remember reading this book to my students. I'm an ESL teacher, which is, just checking my time here, English is a second language. And so I had a group of kids, some spoke Chinese, one spoke Polish, one spoke Spanish. I got in it for like the Spanish game, but I ended up being, you know, working with all these other languages. I don't speak them all, but I teach English, not the other languages. Anyway, so I brought this book in thinking, hey, it's a great kid's book, right? Shel Silverstein, amazing. And I read it, and it's like a prayer. It's not a book for kids. And I'm going to just read a few passages. And I've only read it once in a classroom, actually, in my first year, and I haven't read it in a classroom since. And my book collection has dwindled significantly over the years. I'm not a minimalist. There's other reasons for that. But I'm just going to read a couple passages. It says, so this guy's missing a piece, and one time it seemed to have found the perfect piece, but it didn't hold tightly enough and lost it. Another time, it held too tightly, and it broke. Sad. So on and on it rolled, having adventures, falling into holes, and bumping into stone walls. So the book that changed my life, I hadn't read it for 7 years up until the other day. when I was deciding on the book for this event, and I thought, what a perfect book. You know, as mentioned by Tony, I do an educational rock band and literacy program for kids where I'm able to put my heart in it, and oftentimes the kids don't get it because it's kind of over their head, which I get a kick out of, but they really do learn from it, I swear. And so Shel Silverstein is sort of like, I don't know, unintentional idol of mine. Like, I never called him an idol, but his work really affects me because I find that sometimes the work I do has a similar effect on my students in the sense that they don't get it, but I like it. So I read it once the other day, and on the drive over here, I live near Skinner, where I teach, and I asked my lovely girlfriend here to read it to me again, because I'd only read it once in the last 7 years. And she read it, and it was beautiful, and she said, the only thing I don't like about it is that there's an inscription to your ex-wife in the front. And it's not from me. It was from this guy that liked her before she and I had met. It's from May of 2006. It's been a minute. And I remember loving the book. So I tell myself things like, I love this book so much, and I knew it was her, so I got my own copy. And I thought this was my own copy because it's a brand new feeling and not 10 years old feeling. So anyway, you know, the book, like I said, it's like a prayer. You know, we get something that we think fits, and we hold on too tight and it breaks, or we let it go and it goes away, and we have adventures that are awesome, like catching arrows in our mouth, and then we fall into holes. But I'm just going to read this last part. It says, so it found its peace. You know, it got filled up from something external, and it was happy. It found what it was looking for, and everything was going to be a big fantasy, right? And this guy loved to sing and go on adventures. And once he got the piece, though, he said, oh my, now that it was complete, it could not sing at all because the piece was in its mouth. Aha, it thought, so that's how it is. So it stopped rolling. And it set down the piece gently and slowly rolled away. And as it rolled, it softly sang, oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. Hidey-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece. And then a butterfly spontaneously lands on its face. And I don't know, in my experience, I'm always looking for things on the, outside things to make me feel good, like, oh, once I get on WBZ's The Morning Shift, then I'll have made it. No, it's not true. But it was an adventure that day, and I'll never forget that experience when Tony requested a song from us that I figured, he does his research. So it's the spontaneous connections that are the missing piece, so thanks.